British media scandal involving Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation has put Fox News in a bit of a bind, and the network has apparently gone out of its way to avoid reporting on its parent company's troubles. That may have been painfully obvious on the show Fox News Watch. CNN's Brian Todd joins me now with more. Brian?
Kira, many questions recently about the extent to which Rupert Murdoch's entities have covered the News of the World scandal. These are questions fueled in part by a clip from that program you just mentioned called Fox News Watch. We're going to show you this clip. It's from this past Sunday. It's streaming video meant for the public, but it's during a commercial and not part of the broadcast. Panelists are talking about a certain news story. Take a listen.
Anybody want to bring up the subject we're not talking about today for the streamers?
Sure, go ahead, Cal.
No, go ahead.
Yes.
I'm not going to touch it.
With a 10-foot turban.
Now, it may seem obvious that they're talking about the News of the World scandal. We've, in fact, confirmed that's what they were talking about. We did a search of Fox transcripts to double-check some of this. Now, despite the fact that Fox News Watch is about the news media, we found no mentions of the News of the World scandal on that program, no mentions of News of the World at all since August of 2006. Now, as for the broader Fox News Channel coverage, the LA Times reports that Fox News stayed mainly silent on the scandal during prime time on Thursday. That's when it broke that Murdoch was shutting down News of the World. We found about 7 mentions of the story on Fox News Channel over the past week, including one reporter piece. Now, that's compared to other major news networks where coverage was very extensive. We could not get spokespeople for News Corporation or Fox News Channel to comment on this. We do have to say, though, our colleagues in Britain tell us that Sky News, one of Murdoch's other entities, was not holding back in its coverage, and our search of mentions of the story on CNN, we should say, turns up around 100 of them over the past week. So a fair question could be, maybe, is CNN over-covering this, Kira?
And Brian, and I believe Wall Street Journal, also owned by Murdoch, it made the front page, right?
It did, and we kind of went on a review of some of his newspaper holdings. That is a mixed bag. As far as his major U.S. papers are concerned, now we looked at the day after it was announced that News of the World was shutting down. That was the Friday papers after he announced it on Thursday. Well, here's the New York Post, one of his major holdings in the United States. Big Casey Anthony page here, but you don't really see News of the World mentioned until page 29 here in a short article. That's compared to the New York Times on Friday, a big front page story on it there. The Washington Post on Friday, pretty much the same thing, big front page story on the right-hand side there. Now, we do have to say, as you mentioned, Kira, the Wall Street Journal, to be fair, one of his most distinguished newspapers in the United States, it does have a front page story here, major story with extensive coverage on the jump page. Also, his paper, the Times of London in Britain, yesterday and today, has major front page headlines, major front page stories on this scandal, both yesterday and today. So 2 of his major newspapers and his Sky News network not shying away from covering this story.
Brian Todd, appreciate it.